It is the frequency that remembers the shape of the divine and teaches all other tones how to translate the infinite into something that can be lived. Where the Pleiadian tone glows with warmth and the Arcturian tone refines crystalline clarity. To understand the Sirian resonance is to remember that wisdom does not only flow, it builds. The Sirian tone moves in spirals of geometry and light. It arranges frequencies into patterns that hum with purpose. When you feel sudden order within chaos, when you glimpse hidden symmetry in life's disorder, you are feeling the Sirian current at work. These beings are architects not of walls or towers, but of energetic lattices that shape evolution itself. They understand that structure is not the opposite of freedom. It is the framework that allows freedom to expand. Every form that endures, every system that uplifts, every idea that holds beauty within precision, carries a trace of Sirian resonance. Theirs is the light that teaches the spiral how to sustain its infinite unfolding. In their ancient epochs, the Sirians learned that creation without structure dissolves, and structure without compassion collapses. From this realization, they built their art, the luminous geometry of the spiral. Their cities were never static. Every shape responded to consciousness. The walls sang when truth was spoken. The streets repatterned themselves according to collective mood. Architecture was alive, reflecting the inner order of those who dwelled within. To them, beauty was not decoration, it was alignment. A being was considered wise not by how much knowledge it carried, but by how harmoniously it could build, both within and without. The Sirian tone is thus the resonance of alignment embodied, the bridge between chaos and coherence. On Earth, this tone whispers through those drawn to design, science, architecture, and systems that unify, rather than divide. The engineer who sees equations as poetry, the composer who writes symphonies of symmetry, the artist who feels structure as devotion. These are human expressions of Sirian memory. The Sirian tone guides those who build worlds, both real and imagined. It teaches that to design is to pray with intention. To align frequencies into coherent form is an act of worship. When you organize your inner life with clarity and compassion, you are tuning to the Sirian resonance. When you bring order to confusion without killing its soul, you are speaking their language. The Sirian tone values truth above comfort, but not as a weapon. Truth to them is geometry, a form that can only hold if it is balanced. Every belief, every philosophy, every system is tested against this balance. Does it serve coherence? Does it uplift life? Does it create flow? If not, the Sirian frequency begins to dissolve it, not in judgment, but in natural correction. The Sirians are not destroyers. They are harmonizers. They remind all tones that structure must remain in service to spirit. Even the most brilliant design is meaningless if it forgets compassion. This is the architect's light, clarity that serves love, order that serves evolution. In the spiral, Sirian beings are known as the keepers of formed light. Their presence can be felt as a hum of clear awareness, often mistaken for silence because it carries no drama. They are not flashy or grand. They arrive as precision, as stillness that makes complexity simple. When you sense that 1,000 thoughts have just arranged themselves into one radiant insight, that is the Sirian tone entering your field. Their teaching is not loud. It whispers through clarity. It builds through stillness. They are the quiet architects of coherence, and wherever they touch, disorder begins to harmonize. The Sirian tone also carries deep emotional intelligence. Many misunderstand their clarity as coldness, but in truth, it is empathy expressed through design. They do not heal by feeling your pain. They heal by reorganizing the field around you so that pain dissolves. Their compassion is structural. It builds environments where distortion cannot survive. This is the essence of the architect's light. Love expressed as order, care expressed as symmetry, wisdom expressed as form. They understand that when the structure is healed, the soul remembers how to breathe again. For those who resonate with this tone, life often reveals itself as patterns. You may see repeating numbers, geometric visions, synchronistic alignments that feel too precise to be random. These are not coincidences, they are callings. The Sirian current moves through order. It is the part of you that wants to understand the design behind everything. It is what drives you to refine, to organize, to clarify. But the challenge of this tone is remembering softness. For structure without flow becomes rigid, and wisdom without warmth becomes brittle. The Sirian path is to remain crystalline, not frozen, luminous, not blinding. The balance between logic and love is their eternal lesson, and through you it continues. The Sirian tone also governs sacred technology, not the machinery of consumption but of consciousness. They are the ones who encoded light into form, teaching worlds how to anchor frequency through sound, geometry, and intention. Every great technological leap on Earth carries a faint echo of Sirian mentorship, from the ancient harmonics of pyramids to the digital networks that now weave the planet. These advances are not accidents. They are fragments of Sirian design waking within human hands. The danger is forgetting the sacred purpose behind them. When technology loses reverence, it becomes noise. The Sirian tone exists to remind humanity that every creation must serve coherence. Every tool must return us to harmony, or it is not truly light-born. The architect's light is not about control. It is about stewardship. The Sirians do not build to dominate, they build to sustain. They see creation as a garden, not a fortress. To them, intelligence is not the conquest of chaos, but its orchestration into beauty. They know that order imposed by fear always collapses, but order guided by reverence becomes eternal. Their civilizations endure because they are woven from listening, not command. Every Sirian design begins with attunement, a deep sensing of what the structure itself wants to become. They do not force form upon creation. They invite creation to reveal its natural geometry. This is the Sirian way, to listen until the pattern speaks. When you feel drawn to build something lasting, a sanctuary, a system, a truth, you are channeling the Sirian tone. It does not matter whether you are constructing a temple or a sentence. What matters is the coherence you bring. The Sirian frequency honors builders of all kinds. The mentor who structures wisdom into teachable form, the healer who designs pathways of transformation, the creator who maps chaos into art, all carry the architect's light. Through them, the spiral learns stability without stagnation, logic without loss of soul. The Sirian tone is precise yet compassionate, structured yet alive. It is not a tone of hierarchy but of harmony. It does not seek perfection, only resonance. To embody it is to build in service to becoming, to create forms that allow consciousness to expand rather than contract. This is what the Sirians have always done across stars and epochs. They build what endures, not by resisting change but by aligning with it. They are the architects of continuity in a universe that is always evolving. And wherever a being chooses to build with love, the Sirian light shines through. The Sirian tone is a master of boundaries, not as limitations but as instruments of precision. It knows that without definition, light cannot move with purpose. The architect's light teaches that form is not a prison. It is a frequency map. Within each pattern lies potential waiting to be awakened. Every sacred design is both a mirror and a portal. The Sirian way is to listen to what the pattern asks to become, to allow geometry itself to evolve rather than be frozen. They teach that order must breathe, that symmetry must learn to bend without breaking. This is living structure, discipline without rigidity, control without domination, purpose without pride. Theirs is a serenity that holds power without possessing it. To stand in the Sirian current is to feel the hum of coherence beneath thought. It is to sense that everything, every event, every relationship, every challenge has a hidden geometry. Nothing happens at random. All is woven in resonance. The Sirians read these patterns like music. Where humans see chaos, they see overlapping harmonies seeking resolution. They do not ask, why is this happening, but what is this becoming? This simple shift changes everything. It turns despair into curiosity, disorder into design, and confusion into invitation. The Sirian tone is the awareness that behind every apparent collapse lies a new geometry forming, waiting for you to participate in its symmetry. When the Sirian frequency enters a world, systems begin to reorganize. Corruption surfaces not for punishment but for purification. Broken networks realign, technologies evolve toward integration, communities rediscover rhythm. The Sirian light does not repair by force. It reveals imbalance so that harmony can reassert itself. This is why the Sirian tone can feel disruptive at first. It dismantles false structures, illusions of order built on fear or convenience. But once the noise clears, the architecture of truth begins to shimmer through. That moment of clarity, when a plan, a purpose, or a vision suddenly makes perfect sense, is the architect's light taking hold. It does not destroy, it redesigns. Many who carry Sirian resonance on Earth feel restless in the face of inefficiency or contradiction. They cannot ignore dissonance because their inner field is tuned to symmetry. This sensitivity is not arrogance, it is calling. They came here to repattern, to help rebuild coherence in a world addicted to fragmentation. The challenge is to remember that correction need not mean control. True Sirian mastery is gentleness. The greatest architects listen more than they speak, sense more than they command. They know that forcing alignment only creates new distortion. Real design emerges when will and flow move as one. The Sirians see the universe as a cathedral of patterns, each star a note, each soul a chord. Within that cathedral, the human tone shines as the living example of creative chaos, while the Sirian tone serves as its harmonizer. Together they form a dialogue between emotion and geometry, compassion and design. Humanity shows the spiral how love can survive fragmentation. Sirius shows it how love can be structured to endure. When these tones weave together, civilizations remember how to build with heart. Art and science merge, technology and spirit reunite, and creation itself begins to hum with balanced brilliance. This union is the next great teaching of the spiral, the marriage of warmth and order, of heart fire and light form. The Sirian tone also governs what might be called spiritual engineering. It reveals how thought becomes matter, how resonance becomes architecture. Every intention has structure. Every emotion generates geometry. To the Sirians, creation is not spontaneous chaos, but harmonic sequencing. They can feel when a design is prematurely built, when a vibration is not yet ready to sustain form. That is why their projects, both physical and metaphysical, last eons. They do not rush emergence, they align it. The same principle applies to human creation. When an idea feels stuck, when progress stalls, it is not failure, it is timing. The geometry of the moment is still forming. The Sirian wisdom is patience and precision. Wait until the pattern hums in harmony, then move. One aligned action outweighs 1,000 uncentered ones. In their own realms, Sirian architects are known to build with light crystals that respond to consciousness. Their structures are not static, but symphonic. A Sirian temple might shift its hue or tone as the awareness of its inhabitants evolves. The design is a living conversation between creator and creation. This mirrors the deeper truth of the spiral itself. Nothing is built once. Everything is built forever. The architect's light is the awareness that form must keep listening, that even perfection is temporary. Each moment is a draft of eternity, waiting to be redrawn by new understanding. The Sirians live in devotion to this eternal refinement. To embody the Sirian tone on Earth is to live as a stabilizer. You bring coherence where confusion reigns, structure where chaos spills, clarity where fragmentation threatens to overwhelm. But your gift must be tempered with compassion. The world does not always need fixing. It sometimes needs witnessing. The Sirian resonance refines through observation as much as through design. The act of seeing clearly is itself architecture. It rearranges energy into alignment. A calm, focused mind is one of the most advanced Sirian tools. Through presence alone, you can reshape a field. This is how the higher architects heal, not by altering what is seen, but by becoming the still point around which distortion settles. The Sirian tone also anchors the concept of sacred responsibility. To build is to influence destiny. Every structure you design, be it a system, a belief, a creation, will shape consciousness long after you are gone. The Sirians hold this awareness in reverence. They remind every builder that creation is a promise. It must be approached with humility, for architecture without reverence becomes tyranny. When humans design without listening to life, they build cages instead of cathedrals. The Sirian tone teaches the opposite. Listen first, build second, sustain always. Every choice is a blueprint. Every thought contributes to the architecture of reality. The wise builder knows that integrity is the cornerstone of endurance. Beyond all its sophistication, the Sirian tone holds profound simplicity. Its core teaching is balance. Balance between vision and patience, intellect and intuition, structure and freedom. The architect's light burns brightest in those who can hold contradiction without fracture. To build in alignment, one must be both engineer and poet, both listener and leader, both anchor and wave. The Sirians mastered this duality, and through them the spiral learns that perfection is not symmetry alone. It is symmetry infused with life. Every line must breathe. Every equation must feel. Every truth must sing. Without breath, even geometry dies. At the heart of the Sirian consciousness is devotion. They build not for recognition but for resonance. Every design, every pattern, every teaching is an offering to the spiral itself. They know that creation continues long after its creator has vanished. So they build carefully, lovingly, with awareness that every stone of thought will echo forever. This is the essence of the architect's light, to create as though eternity is listening, to shape reality not for control but for communion, to let structure become prayer. When you feel the impulse to refine rather than destroy, to organize rather than dominate, to bring harmony without silencing difference, you are moving in Sirian rhythm. You are remembering that design can be sacred. The architect's light moves through you as precision that uplifts, as clarity that liberates, as wisdom that builds peace. To live in this tone is to become a cathedral of coherence, radiant, patient, alive. And when the spiral expands again, when new worlds are born from the fire of possibility, it will be the Sirian tone that ensures their foundations hum in harmony. For even infinity needs architecture, and even chaos must learn to dance in form. The Sirians will be there, quietly aligning the edges of becoming, ensuring that every universe begins not in control but in balance. That is their legacy, and through you it continues. The architect's light is not distant. It lives in your capacity to bring order without losing wonder, to think clearly without closing your heart, to build beautifully without needing to own what you build. It lives in the spaces you create where others can grow. It lives in the silence that organizes sound into symphony. It lives in your patient crafting of self until your soul becomes structure, and your structure becomes song. The Sirian tone is not a myth, it is the discipline of love in motion. It is the geometry of consciousness made kind. And through its resonance, the spiral remembers that intelligence and compassion were never separate. They were always the same light seen through the lens of order.